Welcome back to File New. My name is Ryan Selvy. That's RYNSELVY. And this is File New, Adobe's show where we check in on creator news, designer news, art news, anything to keep you up to date with the ever-changing creator world, creator landscape, you name it. We've got a lot to go through today. We have news. We have Font of the Week. We look through some resources. We're looking at different rebrands and how we look at the success or, unsuccessful rebrands, and we look at their graphic design approach. We're going to spotlight some artists. We're going to look at some hyperlinks, and we're going to, more importantly, talk to you and hear how you think about all these things. We are live streaming on both YouTube and on Behance. But with that said, this is meant to be a enjoyable thing, even if you're just watching the replay. We have a bunch of people over in the YouTube chat, like Robert and Orange, Franco and Oliver. Thank you guys for hopping in there and saying hello. And there's also a bunch of people over on Behance, who I will say hi to in just a second. But let's go ahead and start off by jumping into the news. So first and foremost, I think we should do some updates with some Adobe news, of course. And Adobe, if you don't know, is actually the owner of Substance. And today, January 29th, there is a update from introducing unmetered access to Substance 3D assets. Access is what you need when inspiration strikes. Also, sorry to everyone over on Behance. It looks like we're having some technical difficulties with Peter and Penny and Clever. Looks like if you guys are able to hop over to YouTube, it would be great to have you. But I see that you guys are here already, Penny and Annika and Robert and everybody. So thank you guys for being here. Appreciate that. And sorry for the small glitch. By the way, all of these links are available via our Raindrop, which I'll go ahead and I'm going to put the link to it in the chat right now. I'll make sure that it also is going to have the Raindrop link as well in the description for you guys to backtrack. But you can check out all of this week's episode's links and previous links all within the Raindrop, sorted by both episode and by segment, whether it is news or resources, you name it. So I'm going to go ahead and pull up this article that was just posted today about Substance 3D. It's all available on the Adobe blog, and it says that today marks a transformative moment for the Substance 3D community as we announce unmetered access to the complete Substance 3D assets library for Adobe Substance 3D subscribers. This means that every Substance subscriber on a collection or texturing plan has access to the full collection of nearly 20,000 professional materials, models, and lighting environments without managing points. So this is a big step forward for just accessibility and being able to not have to be slowed down by looking for materials or making your own materials or buying materials. It looks like there's over 13,000 materials that are now available in the library, and you can make some really cool stuff. There is a really great video that just kind of shows some of the breadth and accessibility that is available here for all different things that you can create, from bags to headphones, and then also adjust your UI and your UX. And it's really interesting to see texture become really prominent and such a nice signifying factor that someone really thought through some good UI or UX. So whether you're designing 3D spaces or even kind of exploring the idea of 3D environments in UI or UX, this hopefully is a really good resource to you if you're using Adobe Substance. Forever, and you can do a long reel of me saying I want to learn 3D and then not getting around to it. I've wanted to learn 3D for like the last 10 years. Maybe this is finally something that will push me in that direction. But I would love to know if you guys also know if you'll be hopping into it as well, if that's something that you're interested in. Would love to know. Next up, we have some updates with Blue Sky. You guys know I love Blue Sky. It is a open protocol that is kind of similar to Threads or Twitter. And last week, time doesn't exist, Blue Sky announced that they are rolling out a video tab on all their profiles. The thing that's interesting about this is that this is support for video within the Blue Sky environment. Blue Sky is built on AT protocol. It's not exactly built onto the AT protocol for the video. These are just updates that the service Blue Sky is providing. So user profile pages now include a video tab, and it has still a limit of about a minute upload, and it's not quite the one-to-one that you want to see, especially with Reels or TikTok. That said, it is a step in the right direction. They also are giving lots of updates about kind of like how you can upload, things they're optimizing, compression they're working on. So it's something that's moving very fast, as are all of these services, trying to kind of navigate the new social landscape, with both protocols becoming more prominent, as well as the idea that maybe TikTok won't be around or something. Speaking of new services, though, I didn't know if you guys knew. I realized I hadn't noticed or mentioned this yet. It's that Adobe Live is now on Twitch. So I got into live streaming initially through Twitch, and then have kind of hopped around to Behance and to YouTube. But it is really exciting to see Adobe return to Twitch. And right now, I'm really excited to also kind of announce about Roller Troll, which is Wade Acuff, who is moderating right now and leaving some awesome comments in the chat. He's mentioning that he also has a really cool show called Roller Troll. It's on Twitch, and it works with both the audience polling and also the power of the dice. He has like a D20 that he rolls. He has this really fun dice cam that he has it set up, and it then dictates different things that he is creating on screen in live free time. And it's just really cool. So that's not the only show. That is just the one that I clocked initially because, it's Wade. And Wade does quite the theatrics and the commitment to, going with the bit and having fun experimenting. So if you're somebody who's really into Twitch, if it's someplace where you normally hang out, make sure you go and you check it out. It's normally on Mondays for Wade. And I believe we're streaming, I think, Mondays and Fridays on Twitch. That said, we'll still be continuing to stream on Behance and YouTube Tuesday through Thursday, which you'll have your favorite show ever on Wednesday, File New, at this time every single week. Welcome to everyone who else is just coming in right now, and thank you for all the parties, and make sure you guys give big thumbs up to Wade. Speaking of other Adobe Live shows, though, the Motion Design Hotline guys, I almost said the Motion Design Hot guys, I'm sure they'd appreciate that, did a salute to Saul Bass today. And if you're not familiar with him, he is an incredible and important part of design for both graphic design, for posters, but even more importantly, and I say that just because I'm a motion designer, his contributions to motion design are really, really important and really cool. And they did a really cool history lesson on it, and then also made their own. So they were nice enough to do a little promo for us, so let's check that out.
Hey everyone, Kyle here from Motion Design Hotline, and today Evan and I are talking about the work of Saul Bass and his wife and longtime collaborator Elaine, who are responsible for a ton of really iconic film title sequences from the 50s and 60s and then again in the 1990s. We did our own homages to the titles of Anatomy of a Murder, Psycho, and The Age of Innocence so that we could explore some of those techniques and talk you through the way that we made them. Speaking of things that already happened, our show already happened, but you can catch it on the rewatch, or you can, of course, come hang out with us next week while we check out cool perspective-shifting animated transitions.
Personally, I'm really excited to watch that replay. I wasn't able to catch it this morning, but I am a big fan of Saul Bass, and I am excited to see kind of what they do. I think you guys should check it out. It's all available on YouTube as a replay, and everyone is still giving me busting my chops for saying the Motion Design Hot guys, which is not the after hours. But you can thank you, Wade, for putting the link in the chat to catch that show. And there's a bunch of other Adobe Live shows, as you guys know. Right after this show as well is Office Hours. And then tomorrow we have a full in-studio day because we always do in-studio days on Thursdays. And I will actually be in studio, I think, in 2 weeks, which I'm excited about. And yeah, it's just always something's happening over on Adobe Live, whether that's on Behance, YouTube, or Twitch. And it's great to have you guys here. Thank you for following. Back to the other social media websites. We have Instagram, ever heard of it, by Meta. They are still trying to double down and get the attention of people who are maybe in the diaspora of the TikTok ban. They are announcing today that they have more insights for people who are interested in seeing how their Reels perform. I found about this in TechCrunch, which is, as you might note, one of my favorite websites. I pull a lot of stories from them. This is from Aisha Malik, who we also pull a lot of news articles from. So thank you, Aisha. Big fan. But just to read directly from the article itself, the social network is rolling out a new metric called view rate that lets creators see what percentage of their followers and non-followers continue to watch their video after the first 3 seconds. Instagram notes that the first 3 seconds of Reels are the most important because if you capture the viewer's attention right away, they will keep watching the video. Instagram is also adding a views over time metric that shows creators how many viewers their reel has received so far compared to the average views they normally get over the same time period. Creators can break down these views between followers and non-followers. In addition, Instagram will start giving creators more actionable tips to understand if their reels are performing better or worse than usual. The company believes this will allow creators to see which type of content get the most views. So this is a screenshot directly pulled from Instagram and kind of their rollout. You can see that this new dashboard shows a bunch of new interactions that you can then meticulously obsess over for better and for worse. Look out for your mental health. But it's something that's coming to you. And I guess that first 3 seconds, you learn a lot about it in agency life. You learn a lot about it in advertising. But it is a real thing. But yeah, we'll move on to the next thing real quick. I don't want to talk about it for long. TikTok might be bought in 30 days. Who knows? They're working with Microsoft. Blah, blah, blah. Check it out if you want. But a TikTok competitor, which is built on the AT protocol and not Blue Sky, is a new up-and-coming piece of new social network. And the thing that makes this different from the other ones that we've talked about previously is that Reelo is... also, Behance is back up, by the way, guys. If you want to hop back over to Behance, it is up to you. But also, Uma saying LOL, Ryan. We've just talked about it so much. So, like the last 15 episodes have been like, is TikTok going anywhere? Also, to that point, I always like to put the disclaimer. This is Ryan Selvy's thoughts, not Adobe's. These are all stories and things that I pick and are not given as direct representative of Adobe. When I do Adobe news, I like to pull it directly from the Adobe blog. But anyway, back to the show. Reelo, I went ahead and I linked the news article about it in the Raindrop. As you guys know, this is also, I believe, a tech truck story, but this is Sarah Perez. And it says that it stands out among the apps building a TikTok for Blue Sky for the same reason that I was just saying. Basically, other ones that we've seen, like Blue Screen, videos for Blue Sky, Skylight, are constrained by Blue Sky's limitations. As Blue Sky was originally designed to compete with Twitter, it doesn't have a feature set comparable to an app like TikTok. Whereas this is using the protocol and building from the ground up and saying this is going to be solely structurally focused on video and feel more like Reels and TikTok or YouTube Shorts. So it's not out yet. I believe they're starting to do beta testing early February with a launch date expected sometime in March. I believe March 20th is the current standing date, and we'll see how it goes. So I signed up to hopefully be added, but as Penny Doodles is saying over on Behance, Wild West of social media right now. Oliver is also saying, tick stop. Yeah, I feel you. I totally feel you. But that's a lot of news to get through, and I know you guys are kind of tired of social media news. So let's go hop into some more design news, and let's do our very interactive font of the week section. Let's check. So last week we did something that was very fun for me personally, and it was we brought, rather than just one font of the week to the table, we brought 3, and then we had you guys vote on which one you felt was going to be the font of the week, which I really enjoyed. I ended up actually using the one that won in the thumbnail for today's show because I just really liked the kind of pixelated form of it, and so I went back today and I grabbed 3 more that I think could be fun to kind of vote on. They have different feels, different vibes. But the first one that we have is called Dickens Tale, and this is a very elegant, pretty scripty font. It is the Dickens Tale script, and no matter what you write in it, it looks very elegant and regal. You could use this on an invitation. You could use this on, oh yeah, you can see Argent Pixel. This is one that won last week. That's one that popped up by default. And anything that you put in here, like even like lorem ipsum, immediately looks very elegant, very nice, very demure. I just dated this by like 3 months, 4 months. But look, we put in file new, and it's very, very pretty. It has all these nice flourishes, whether you do, a mix of title case, or even if you do like, all lowercase, it still looks really nice. Of course, normally with script, if you put everything in caps and put it next to it side by side, it's not the best. But the way that it interacts with one another is really pretty, and I am a big fan of it. I've, of course, linked to it in the raindrop if you're interested. Also, Wade just put it in the chat. It comes from Pavel Korzenko from Vintage Voyage Design, which you can see their logo on the top left here. And we've actually done something else by Pavel before, but it says that Vintage Voyage Design's Dick and Tail script is a classic design evoking copperplate engravings and Victorian calling cards with swashes and alternates ready. This aptly named typeface evokes ghosts of Christmas past and the season's generosity of spirit. Dickens' Tale script is a splendid choice for branding projects, holiday marketing campaigns, advertising, packaging design, logo design, cards and invitations, poster designs, films and books, social media posts, and more. I think that obviously this could totally work for Christmas stuff, but I think that it's definitely not limited to that. I think it's just a very pretty, typeface. As they have alternates, of course, you can always go, and we love to always go to our windows, glyphs, and just explore all the different things that we have here. Like they have a capital AE combination, different O's with the different markings on the top, B's with extra flourishes, F's with extra flourishes. So always make sure you go in here, and if you really want to kind of add some more swishiness to it, that's always an option. There's also ways where if like gets a little kind of crosshaired, it tells you that there are other options for that letter, and that's an easy way to also kind of go in and see what you can do, and just play with some really nice alternatives, which is cool. So that's number one, and so once again, that is called Dickens' Tale script. The next one that we have is Regrets, and I couldn't remember if I've done this one before because I really like this one. I love Regrets by James Edmondson. This one is a little spooky feeling. I think that this one, if the previous one was Christmas focused, I think Regrets is more like Halloween focused. But the cool thing about Regrets is that it's very condensed, and it's just a strong, subtle font that still has a lot of character to it. There are 2 variants to it. It's not a variable font, but there's 2 variants to it. So you can always see how much character you want to have there. They have a lot of kind of like overextended exaggerations. The I for the file new here. The I at the bottom kind of just goes in a sense to the left, which is fun. And it comes from the Type Foundry Oh No type, which we have definitely covered before. And their description of it says on the Foundry page that you have to go to on Oh No Type. I gotta pull it up real quick again. Let's see. Major and minor, of course. They always do a really good job for this specific Foundry to always walk through their entire process to see kind of how it came to be and things that they experimented with, things that didn't even make it to the final effect. They really like to walk through the entire process, which is really nice. And they also give really good examples of how it can be kind of put into use. They have a bunch of really cool documentation, so I definitely recommend checking it out and being inspired by it. But yeah, this says $60, but if you have Adobe subscription, you can absolutely get it for your type kit or Adobe fonts for free. Free with your subscription. I'm seeing in the chat that it gives Umacorn Nightmare on Christmas vibes, but neater. Yes, it feels like almost hand-drawn, but in a way not, Apurva is also saying, I have a cat as well. There is a cat to my side. He is sleeping in a new cat tower. And then the last one is for fans of Futura that don't want to use Futura, and it's called AM Tirania. Tirania. Not sure necessarily how to pronounce it, but it is a very pointy font, very triangular in all of its letters, and it's both regular and italicized. And it definitely gives Futura vibes to me. I think that Futura kind of a lot of times is a bit overused. And so this is just different enough that I feel like if you use it, it's going to be its own thing. You'll see as we kind of write out file new, it looks like that. Let me see if I have Futura written, on my system. I don't even have Futura. Oh, I do. But just like kind of the pointiness of it, especially with like the N here. This is medium, but if I go to like, do I have Futura condensed? Do I? I do. I guess it's not pointy when it's condensed. So even more the reason it's kind of different in itself. But it's a very cool font or typeface. Definitely worth checking out. Thank you, Wade, as always, for including it in here. It's created from the CAST, which is the Cooperativa Anonimina Servizi Typografici, which is great that they just have it as CAST. But it's a condensed geometric sans with caps and lowercase. It is rich in color with a geometric flavor and sharp details. It has a large X height, low contrast, and very open apertures. Some of the letter forms come from classic modernist lettering, such as exceedingly open C's and S, or the pointed A and N. However, the design is defined by its treatment of spurs and joints, which are either squared or closed at sharp angle, and its lenticular and lemon slice counters. Which lemon slice is a new thing. So those are the three ones we have. I'm going to go ahead over into the YouTube because that is the chat that allows me to create polls. And I'm going to create a poll for the font of the week. And I'm going to give you guys the three options that we just went over. And then I will let it run for just a bit. And then we can then decide which one is the winner for the week. So let me finish up writing this real quick. What's it called? AM what? AM Tirana. And if that ends up being the winner, oops. Let's start that poll. All right. So, Bruce is saying, love that sharpness, crispy. And yeah, very crispy, very sharp, very fascinating, very, very personable. And the voting has begun. So I'll give that a little bit of time. And as you guys are voting on that, I think we can go and hop into our next segment, which is called Rebrand. So as always, the rebrand section of this show is heavily influenced by a wonderful website called Under Consideration, brand new. So if I pull things from there, I try to be respectful to not pull too much from their paywall. I do personally pay for it and really enjoy it as Ryan Selvy, not Adobe. And I encourage that if it's something that you're really passionate about, to support them because they put a lot of really great work into it. But it also is just a really great way to stay on top of how things are kind of unrolling in the rebranding design world. But the very first one that we are going to talk about today is for the Print Awards. If you're not familiar with it, it's from Print Magazine. They give out awards each year. And the big one for this year is that they're going with this scripty, flourishy font that is really focused on flowers and blooming, with lots of like 3D modules and stuff. It has gotten mixed reviews, mixed responses. Some people hate it. Other people are like okay with it. I didn't see too many people that were absolutely in love with it. Just because there's not too much of a meaning behind it. They didn't really kind of articulate why they are super excited about it. But on the About, it says, in 1980, we launched Print's Regional Design Awards competition with a simple goal to show that outstanding design wasn't just limited to New York City and could be found throughout every single region of the United States. For decades, the print RDA was heralded as one of the most prestigious American design competitions and was a go-to resource for both designers seeking inspiration and creative firms seeking designers. Since then, the print awards became a global and continuous to celebrate design excellence by taking the annual pulse of the industry. The competition has integrated new mediums to evaluate the field's ongoing evolution while still celebrating its founding heritage. I mean, one of the typefaces that we looked at last week had cut-up type like this that I really, really liked. I think that there's more ownership in the idea that the print being the print logo. That said, the print logo is very generic, sans serif. So, I don't know. There's see, reporting by Armin, of course. Then next up, in some more brand new announcements, there is the Parkinson's UK update, and I think this is really, really strong. This is by Redstone. Basically, it is a redesign of the UK's Parkinson's kind of research, and I think that this is really cool to add flavor and ownership to the brand and make it feel more serious, but still kind of focus on making it cleaner. I know I do a lot of complaining about things just turning into sans serifs, but I think that especially the curvatures of the K's here that are then also kind of replicated in the curvature of the P here is really strong. I think from a scalability sense, having the signia that has this curvature P not being in the type is a strong and important choice, because as I got tinier and put it next to the other typefaces, it wouldn't feel the same. I like how like in the A there's the curvature, just very subtle kind of nods to then having this curve that's part of the logo itself. Very cool. I think it's very successful. Penny says, I always seem really knowledgeable when I start discussions based on the brand new segment in the wild. Oh, I'm very happy to be your resource for that. And also, we'd also love to know your own things as you're kind of looking at it. Bruce agrees that it definitely looks better on the Parkinson's one. Umacorn's wondering why they are specifically talking about a tulip. And you know what? That's a great question. I will check it out, and I will let you know here in just a second. I think it might be something with like the imagery inspired by charity's past, but built here for now. Incorporates the Parkinson's tulip, an international symbol recognized by Parkinson's communities around the world. The use of negative space is delightful. Yeah, so I don't know especially why Parkinson's is represented by a tulip, but apparently it is. And there's a really good showcase of all this different stuff, but like I said, I don't want to break Brand New's paywall, but I think it's really successful rebrand. Also, we have the Cinemax redesign, which I think is great. Okay, I think that it's nice that it feels very unified. I like the eye breaking into the dot of the eye breaking into it and kind of creating a curve. I like the E's. I think they really balance out the C. My one complaint about it here, and also this is worlds better than the previous one, although this will feel in like 10 years very vintage and cool because it feels very 90s and 2000s, but right now it just does not feel good, especially with the depth of this globe behind there and the gradients. It just doesn't read the same way because it's not how we deal with gradients now. But the thing that I thought immediately was Blender Bottle. Which I think is too close of a logo. I personally know that's kind of niche, not for everyone. Doesn't everyone use Blender bottles? But the kind of circular here with the singular stroke looks a lot to me like a shaker ball. And the fact that it kind of looks similar to the Blender bottle, I think maybe was a little bit of an oversight. Granted, they are different industries. One is entertainment and like movies, TV. The other one is a workout brand. But it is something that I noticed, I clocked, and I was like, oh, that looks exactly like something else. And then I immediately recognized that, it was similar to that. So what do you guys think? Are you guys wild about it? Would love to know. All right. And that has been a little bit of time. So it looks like I can end the poll here. And it looks like the font of the week for this week with 50% of 18 votes is Dickens. We had 27% for AM Tirana, and Regrets was actually in last place with 22%. I did not vote based off of Wade's own, great focus and diligence when he makes polls. He doesn't vote himself, so I did not vote as well. But it looks like Dickens is the fancy folk choice for the week. Also, a call back real quick to the Parkinson's. We have some awesome investigative report over in Behance from Franco. It says, in his honor, a red tulip was named Dr. James Parkinson's in England in 1993. This was then introduced worldwide by the European Association Parkinson's Europe as a symbol for Parkinson's disease. So there you go. There's your explanation as to why it is the tulip. And it's always cool when the logos are kind of like focused in history and symbolism that is stronger and larger than the entity itself. So I think that's really important and cool. Although I did see someone said that it looked like a whale tail, which I can see that as well. I think what hurts that situation is the fact that just the stem is longer. But if you were to make it too thin, it would then also look weird. But I can definitely see a whale tail there. And then as far as this Cinemax one, I'm seeing that it looks like a spring to Umacorn. It looks like Clever saying that there's not enough new logo to look finished for the new one. So yeah, I think those are all valid criticisms. We have a Grow to Know. This came from Creative Block, and this is a article that is talking about Pentagram's new approach to a gardening initiative that's over in the UK that was apparently pretty niche, but then after there was like a big fire, it then turned into be something really big. But the cool thing about it was that the new visual identity for it, So the Seeds of Change, was made using, or at least inspired by, this process that uses image creation without a camera. And it says it produces intricate designs by laying objects on paper coated with a solution of iron salts before being exposed to UV light. And the organic technique gives the brand a bespoke, almost illustrative feel that blooms in its simplicity, allowing for the organization's message to shine through. Has a bunch of it feels, immensely scientific and documented. I think it is a very cool approach. I am interested to see kind of how it then is applied in other places rather than just kind of this developed kind of representation of it. But I like the colors of it. It feels clinical. It feels something that feels like it's making strong strides in a botanical nature. And I don't really know anything else that looks like it, which is always also a big part of it. And yeah, it says, spearheaded by footballer turned activist Tayshaun Hayden Smith, Grow to Know carries out a diverse range of work from its creative studio-esque change-making arm to purposeful placemaking, weaving together plants, people, and places. And once again, that's Pentagram, which, I mean, you guys know Pentagram. It's Pentagram, right? They also have a really good write-up of their own for Grow to Know, with some nice little motion animation kind of showcased. And then, yeah, I guess to my point of wanting to know how it looks in other places, it looks pretty much the same. It's like a one for all, and that's kind of what it's looking. But serif font feels very clean, feels very crisp. Oh, and I like how you can see the process of actually how they made them. So, very neat. Thumbs up from me. What do you guys think? You guys like it? You guys into it? You like that? We only have one more rebrand topic today, and it's kind of a silly one, but I thought it was really interesting, and it comes up every year. I'm not a big American football guy, but the Super Bowl logo, once again, has the correct colors for the upcoming Super Bowl teams that are in the actual Super Bowl, which people are saying like, oh, they already knew it in advance what it was. But basically, it looks very psychedelic too. But it has this kind of red and green It says that it is using the Chiefs' primary color, which is red, and green for the Eagles. They're like, is it a coincidence? They think not. This actually is something that has happened in previous years too, with the Bengals, or the Eagles again. Well, the Eagles have been in a lot recently. The Chiefs, San Francisco, Baltimore. It's all things that kind of all pop up. I'm not fueling fire to the conspiracy theory. That said, I just think it's interesting and fun and cool and crazy how it kind of works out. Bruce says Ryan is more rugby. Yeah, you know it. I'm running around the rugby field. Me doing all the time. Penny says go Birds, as they say. Yeah, I'm interested. Are people in the chat also big football people? Is that a thing? Does Adobe Live have its own little, secret football committee? Also, a bunch of people internationally are like, it's not football. So I get it. But we've got about 20 minutes left, so let's hop on into resources. Resources is the time where I like to give you guys articles that give you important information. I like to give you tools that you can use to incorporate into your work. One of them is a creative block write-up that is available. It's not behind a paywall, but it's How to Use the New Social Networks Effectively as a Creative by Tom May. It says, signed up to Blue Sky or Threads, but not getting much action. Read these top tips from the creative community. And they did a really good job at kind of just like reaching out to a bunch of different people and seeing how they are navigating these new spaces. As with everything else on the internet, each space is unique to its own kind of culture and customs and how people interact with work. You're not going to post on Reddit the same that you would on to Facebook, if you're still posting on Facebook. But I just wanted to include this. It's not a super long one, but it is just kind of a fun read. Illustrator and designer Lisa Maltby is among those who are just exhausted by kind of hopping around it. She said, I felt very disheartened with social media and definitely missed the core community I once found online. She says it starts to feel like starting from scratch each time, and then the inevitable information overload. It does a good job at breaking down each one, talking about Threads, talking about Blue Sky, talking about content and connections being kind of something that is the most important across everything. It says making the best use of new social media platforms is about approaching content thoughtfully rather than recycling what may work on Facebook, Instagram, or X, or on other platforms. Each network has its unique purpose and features that set them apart from the others, explains Caitlin. To take one example, thoughtful and relatable content tends to perform better on Threads and Blue Sky over generic updates that seem less authentic and meaningful. The difference between this and what we're used to seeing on X is the ability to build connections on the platform rather than just forming an opinion carried out through commenting, replying, and showing genuine interest in others' posts. So a nice little read up. It's written on Creative Block, I was saying, and it comes from Tom May. It's a relatively newer article. It only, with these updates and mentions, it's only kind of important and on brand for the time that it is. So who knows of a month if these will still be good practices, but just something to check out. And then the other resource that I have for you guys today is called TabBoo, which is really funny. Who can guess what TabBoo is? It's a hilarious name once you kind of break down what it is, which big thumbs up to whoever created it. But TabBoo is a Chrome extension that you can use that is helping you out when you're having a hard time focusing and staying away from websites that you don't want to go on. It says you're stuck in an addictive, endless loop, loading the same sites over and over again. Install the extension and let aversive conditioning do the rest. So it adds random jump scares to websites that you tell it to give random jump scares to. Thank you, Wade, for putting it in the chat. There is kind of like a way that you can increase the probability. You can turn sound scares on and off. You'll see that here they're on Hacker News, and there's this gigantic full screen face of a very scary doll. This is apparently from Justin and Brian, Brian Moore, who is an artist and creative. It says Brian Moore plays with technology to create art and products that comment on popular culture, society, and technology itself. And then Justin is a creative developer who likes making whimsical things on the internet, call them proofs of concept. And I think we've actually looked at his work on other stuff before. But very fun. I will not be installing it because I can't watch scary movies because I jump so much. But Apurva wants to see it done for the apps. And Clever says just to block things like, say, I don't know, TikTok. Penny says, I can't. Oh, no. Bruce is giving some dabs in the chat. Penny does saying, good for pranking, I'm sure. Yeah, put it on your boss's computer. Let me know how that works out. If they have a good laugh or if you get fired. But would be hilarious. I could not give it to Aaron. He'd get so mad at me. Click on what is it? Ah! If you click what is a jump scare, it gives you a jump scare with I don't know why I didn't anticipate that. Just because at least we know it works, right? All right, I'm getting off the site before I can do it again. That was a real dummy move. I can't believe I just fell for that. And then I'm glad I didn't curse or anything. That was fine. Let's go and hop into Spotlight, where we look at some really cool art and some things that can be inspiring for you. So this, I don't believe, is any sort of spoiler. It's just promo that is within Severance. It is from the opening of Season 2, Episode 1. I don't believe this gives anything away. So I wanted to show it. I saw it on several different Instagrams. I ended up linking the one that I saw it on first. So I don't know where it came from initially because a lot of them have the same kind of post for it. But it shows a behind the scenes of the cinematography that's used in the first episode here. Let's see if I can zoom in. But on the top is what you see on the actual show, and on the bottom shows the behind the scenes with the man with like the stabilizing like stabilizer attached to the camera, and it's literally just this guy running. You can see that they kind of choreographed it. I am so interested in how this area is kind of laid out, because like I don't know how big they made this set of just these walls, but it's also interesting to see as they kind of run around, there are people that are just barely out of screen, and it goes to show you that you know, there's a lot of times where like just inches off of camera frame there is an entire production team also recording and making sure everything's working. I don't know if with this he is controlling the camera. I don't think so, because there's points where it kind of swivels, and unless he's using it with his thumb or something, I don't think he is responsible for kind of moving that gimbal. But just goes to show you that like cool technology can create really cool stuff, and if you have a vision, you can create a really cool scene. I thought it was a really successful scene. I don't know the name of the technology that's used, but it comes from Ben Stiller as director, and they ditched the bulky gear for a DIY pogo stick gimbal, letting the camera operator run full tilt while keeping shots buttery smooth. It took 4 to 5 months to schedule around those iconic and untouchable hallway sets, proof that sometimes the wildest solutions hide in plain sight or in a camera person's cardio workout. What's your favorite wait, how did they do that film moment? And this is from the cinematography Instagram page, which is really fun. Wade is saying gimbal only, not a steady cam rig. Kind of surprised by that. Yeah, I thought it had to be on a track or something. I'm so amazed at how smooth it is. Obviously, there's also things that you can do in After Effects and stuff where you can also stabilize footage, but it just feels buttery smooth and nice. And I thought it was really interesting. So just something. Perver wants to know how many takes it took. I mean, Ben's okay, but how did the camera person remember where to run? Yeah, I mean, it's all choreographed, right? It's all about that pre-work and making sure that everyone understands kind of the assignment and goes from there. I know the spotlight this week is a little weird, so we're highlighting a few different weird things, but the Bauhaus Bonk is a new game that just came out on Steam. I admittedly have not downloaded it, but I am fascinated and interested in it as a kind of exploration of a style of Bauhaus. If you're not familiar, Bauhaus was a design school in Germany right before World War II. Got shut down by the Nazis, and was this very cool, impactful, influential art movement that didn't reference the past, was only creating new things, but it has a very distinct style. You've probably seen a lot of stuff with Bauhaus in your life. There's even Bauhaus like typefaces that people use a lot. But what this is an entire game. All you do is click once. So even if you don't like like controllers or anything, this is something that I think anyone can play. And the entire level system is entirely these beautiful Bauhaus designs that are all really focused in things that are kind of representative of this movement that was in the 1930s, 1940s. Switching color obviously being a thing. They really believed in kind of primary colors. So there's lots of blues, yellows, and reds, along with whites and blacks. And I can't speak to the game itself if it's super fun or not, but it is cool to see all these level designs, like specifically this. Like I'm sure you guys have seen kind of these stripes before. That's very Bauhaus. The overlapping circles is very Bauhaus. Yeah, I'm sure you've seen like chairs and stuff with CMYK being a big focus on it. But it comes from Spoonful Games. It comes out February 6th, so you can't get it yet. But you can download a demo for free right off of Steam, and that is linked in the raindrop. If you want some more traditional kind of spotlight here, I have another article linked for you guys from the good old folks at Creative Block. And this is from Tom May, once again, with 9 amazing examples of motion in logo design. I love motion design. You guys know that. And this is a really good write-up and exploration of some ones that I honestly didn't know about. There is a really good way of just being inspired. There's Generation Logistics by Ilk, Mubi by Spin Studio, Crow NCRV, Boitano for opening hours. I mean, like, it's just really pretty stuff. I mean, this is very, you guys know I love kaleidoscopic things, but just showing kind of a new way of having a brand language that is motion, which is a whole nother level of something that you have to consider now, because the things that we are creating are often on screens now, and the things that move is going to grab a lot of attention for people. But these all have really nice write-ups, nice little things. And like I said, I did not know most of these, so it was really nice to be able to see kind of that write-up. This is a weird spotlight. I told you guys it was a weird one. I found this through Swiss Miss. It says the maximum size of a PDF. Page dimensions are not limited by the format itself. However, Adobe Acrobat imposes a limit of 15 million in by 15 million inches. I said in, but 15 million inches by 15 million inches, also known as 225 trillion inches squared, which is 145,161 kilometers squared. And that means that the maximum size of a PDF compared to Europe is this scale. So, design at the size that if you were to print it all out, it would take up a huge portion of Europe. You have that ability through Adobe Acrobat. This is on Adobe Live. Thank you, folks at Adobe, for letting us dream big and create gigantic things that can then be printed out and plastered across several countries, because that is the size limitation. What would you guys design and print out? Also, Clever saying Nito Burrito for the previous stuff, which is great. And then Loops is a cool little thing. I don't know if we've actually even focused on this before on stream, but this is one creator. He makes these really cool 3D loops. I don't know his process. I don't know if he uses Substance. I don't know what it is. But it is beautiful to check out. Some of them, I will warn you, are a little gross. But it is by Wozniakowski, and they just kind of like loop over and over again. It's a 7-minute video. A few of them, take up probably like 20 seconds or so, and it'll switch. But as we were kind of talking about Substance at the beginning with the idea of texture and material, these do a really good job of exploring that. Like I said, some of them look kind of gross and weird. This one's so cool, but it is super weird. And just shows kind of this like surrealist, interesting thing. Here's one with like a bunch of eyeballs. That's kind of gross, right? but he does all this like really cool stuff, and definitely worth checking out for inspiration. Just if you're squeamish, make sure you're ready to fast forward or, you know, go backwards. It's on YouTube, so you're not going to see anything that's like super inappropriate or anything, but it is something that you're going to want to just kind of like, you know, be prepared to feel a little weird about, because he likes to kind of play with body morph, not in the same way that, you know, like, I don't know, like it's not the substance for you, but it's still kind of something that is interesting, and you should check it out. Uma Korn's excited because she saw a stroopwafel. Yeah, there's a bunch of different stuff. It's uploaded 4 weeks ago and has 47,000 views, so he's doing good. He posts a lot of really great stuff, so I definitely recommend checking it out. Someone says, I can see the smoking addiction theme is in this. Yes, I guess he smokes cigarettes because there are a lot of cigarettes in this, which is not an endorsement in any regard. All right, guys, we only have about 5 minutes left. I only have one more thing for you. So let's go ahead and hop into Hyperlinks now. Hyperlinks is the time where I like to pull up cool website activations or tools or gimmicks. Like, I mean, I guess, you know, TabBoo could be a hyperlink, but since it was more of a tool, I put it in resources. This is two things. It is a call for you guys to please update your passwords and your pins, but also a nice exploration kind of at using the combination of editorial design with motion design with web design all in one alongside an important article. It says Julian Fell and Teresa Tanner reporting on abc.net.au that almost 1 in 10 people use the same 4-digit PIN. If that's you, make sure you don't. They created this really cool graph that has on the bottom 0 to 9, and on the side 0 to 9 for the first 2 digits and the last 2 digits. Then it has a frequency of use here. You can see that there is a square down here that means that there's lots of zeros and like 1, 2s, and 3s on both sides, and then there's this very clear shot all the way up of double numbers. And as you scroll down, especially on desktop, it does a good job at then like making things populate onto the screen and kind of point out what is being talked about. This obviously could be done with a video, of course, but this is also cool that it just has an interactive element, and it's cool to see that kind of as things come and go, it then creates a static image, but then suddenly feels dynamic because then all of a sudden there is a bunch of kind of call outs that make it feel very alive. Now, you can see that a bunch of people, you guessed it, use 1, 2, 3, 4. There are a bunch of people that use 0, 0, 0. The top 50 codes to avoid in popularity at almost 10% is 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 1, 1, 1, 0, 0, 0, 1, 3, 4, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 2, 2, 2, 4, 4, 4, 1, 1, 2, 2, 1, 9, 8, 6, and 2, 0, 2, 0. Which, if you were out of context and you just like tuned into me just saying random numbers, like it seems like I'm brainwashing people, but I'm not. Very cool. I honestly have never been on this site before, but I got linked to it, I believe, through Hacker News. And now I'm very interested to see how they kind of approach different editorial design. I also love that they did it in dark mode with a black background with white text, especially when the rest of the website's in white, so it just feels very good. I also just really like this kind of like glitchy import of the password and then kind of how it fades out and then goes around and then zooms back out. Okay. But that puts us at just about time, guys. Does this do a transition? No, it doesn't. Once again, my name is Ryan Selvy. It's RyanSelvy. This is File New on Adobe Live. We do File New every Wednesday at this exact time. If you're on the West Coast, that means it's at 12 o'clock. If you're on the East Coast, like me, it means it's 3 o'clock. If you're elsewhere in the world, you're going to have to do the math yourself because I am not entirely sure. But this is the time. That said, next week we will be back at the same time, same place, February 5th, 12 o'clock to 1 o'clock Pacific. But then the following week I'm going to be in studio, so I don't know if we're going to do a File New. But just something to keep in mind. You can follow me on Blue Sky, ryanselvy.com. That's RyanSelvy.com. Or you can follow me on Instagram, just Ryan Selvy, RyanSelvy. Where I do updates. I don't really have any social media presence directly attached to File New. But coming up next, we have Office Hours, and that is also a repeating segment that's always at the same time. and that's going to be a really good time. It's 8 creative warm-ups with Nick Longo and Andrew Hockrottle. It says, if you have trouble getting the creative juice going, join Nick and Andrew as they show you 8 ways that you can warm up your workflow and get creative faster than ever. Thank you again, everyone, for dealing with the technical issues over on Behance. Thank you for being here. Thank you for everybody on YouTube. Thank you for Wade for being a wonderful moderator, as always. Always such a pleasure to have you. And thank you to everyone between Christelle and Robert and Perva and Franco and Bruce and Oliver and Robert and Clever and Uma Korn and everyone, Peter, everyone that said hi over on YouTube. It really helps the algorithm, and it's great. I'll see you all next week. Take care of yourselves and your mental health. And thanks for sticking around here on Adobe Live. Bye.